My name is Shakti Katheria, and I'm taking a class CS1800 at Northeastern University, where I have a final phase project where I have to prove that 9n to the power minus 1 is divisible by 8 for all n by using induction. Induction is a very strong method we use in mathematics to prove stuff. Before we get into that, let's look up a logic stuff. Assume that I have a apartment which has 4 rooms and I have 4 friends who's visiting. One of my friend is very picky and he wants to pick his room, and C and D are very lenient, they can go any room, but B has a condition, he wants to stay between C and D. So if A comes in and B picks here and D comes here, C comes here and D comes here, I can fit B in here. I can do the similar thing where A can pick here and then C and D will be picking up this room and then B ends up in this. So no matter how much I build up, I'm able to keep up with their conditions. So keep that in mind before we can jump into the induction. One of the things, inductions, it depends on 4 pillars, which are claim, your base case, inductive hypothesis, and your inductive steps. To summarize those into 3 very important points are, let's assume that I have some property which is true for some integer. Second point, that I have some fixed integer, I must be able to prove that property is still true for that fixed integer. Third and very last important is that for all k where k is greater than 0, I must be able to prove my property is true for k plus 1. And if I'm able to do that, I can be able to build it. So keep that in mind. So let's jump into the problem. The first thing we do is set a claim, which is for all n is in positive integer, where is Pn. Second thing is my base case, where I pick a value of n. So in this case, I'm going to pick n is equal to 1, and I plug it in, and I have is equal to 8. We can see that it is divisible by 8. The third thing is inductive hypothesis, where we set n is equal to k, and then set that is equal to as 8a. In order for this term to be divisible of 8, this has to be a multiplicative of 8, where a could be any positive integer from 1 to infinity, as long as like non-negative. We assume assume our inductive hypothesis to be true, and if we just solve this a little more further, we can write it at 8a plus 1. Now we jump into our inductive step, where we replace n is equal to with k plus 1. So if you put that in our equation, we have nk plus 1 minus 1. And if you break it down, the nk with a basic algebra, we can write it like this. Now, if we recall our inductive hypothesis, we can replace nk with 8a plus 1. So let's do that. And we have, let me do this, 8a plus 1 into 9 minus 1. Now, if I multiply that inside, I have plus 9 minus 1, and I perform the algebra more here. I have 72a plus 8, and if I break it down more and taking 8 common out, I have 9a, 9 plus 1. Now, I can see that this term is a multiplicative of 8, which proves that the whole term should be divisible by 8. Now, we can say that our k plus 1 holds the property true, and we are able to prove our claim by using weak induction. So this is true, and we can say that the claim proven by using weak induction. If you have any questions, comments, or concern, please comment below on my YouTube blue, and by using weak induction. And please let me know if there's anything you're still confused about. So that's my solution to the problem by using a weak induction.